secret is I just smile and say, live for today. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the sun came up and I gotta say, see it in a whole new way. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world, on top of the world.
Well, hello again. Thank you for attending another session of Leaders and Learners, where we know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. And today I'm bringing you an international sensation that's multi-talented in so many dimensions. I want you to get to know this amazing woman and the things that she's done. And we're also going to dive into one of those more uncomfortable conversations that y'all seem to stray away from. And I really want to hit on that too, but mental illness, depression, grieving, all of those not so cool things, but definitely something we need to talk about. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Ms. Kassandra Dasent, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, and then we're going to challenge you a little bit in your thought process and how you are probably dealing with some things that you've been putting in the back of your mind. So Ms. Kassandra, take it away. Tell the people who you are and what you've been up to over the span of your career.
So thank you for having me on, Tanya. And I am a singer, songwriter, producer. I've been a musician since the age of 6. I started training as a classical clarinetist, performed in jazz bands, choirs, you name it. I've sang probably almost every genre that you can think of. And so that's the music side of me. And then as on the corporate side, I work in IT as a IT project manager, program manager, currently working in healthcare, but worked in software engineering in the past and also EDI. So I really, my experience in life has kind of spanned a lot of things. I've also acted in a couple of movies. I modeled for many, many years. So I've done like all the things.
All the exciting things. And I want you to talk to me really quick about how you do these two things that to most people would seem polar opposite, right? You do this glamorous, amazing, artistic thing, and then you have your profession, which is a little more not so black and white. You have to be a problem solver, intrinsic thinker. Like, talk to me about how you blend those two worlds and kind of explain how you can do both sides of the coin and be good at both of them.
I think truly I'm able to use both hemispheres of my brain, right? Because music really, captures one hemisphere versus, analytical thinking, process-oriented thinking. And I just got very lucky, DNA-wise, to be able to really separate the two and still integrate the two at the same time. So in my day-to-day, dealings at corporate, yes, I'm creating programs, I'm dealing with processes, I'm affecting change right through the work that I do, but it's always in partnership. It's a team effort. I cannot do it alone. I strongly rely on my ability to relate to people and respect people in everything that I do in order to bring them along with me on the journey to implementing a project or a program. So I think it really starts at the core is just being authentic, being sincere, being able to communicate well with people. And my music helps me so much in that realm. You'd be really surprised. But tapping into my emotional intelligence as a singer, as a songwriter, I'm really able to read people really well. I'm able to understand whether they're uncomfortable in a situation or they may be bringing in extra energy that it's not about me, but, dealing with people's emotions can be really challenging. And I seem to have a knack for getting to the heart of a matter and getting problems solved. So that's kind of how I've merged the two over the years. And, to the point where people know I'm a professional singer. They know I'm a performer, and they think that's all that they think it's awesome. You would think that something that's not, you wouldn't necessarily advertise. And I usually don't, but people are nosy. They go on Google. And they're like, I didn't know you were like that. And I'm like, yeah, I have a life outside work, right? We should all.
I think a part of that, though, is really your disposition is pretty humble. Okay. And one of the things that comes to mind, one of my philosophies about leadership is that you can really be a strong, progressive leader, even leading from behind. And the way that you were talking about being intuitive, we call it situational awareness, understanding the people that you're dealing with and being able to influence them, maybe without even having a title, right? So talk to me a little bit more about your ability to lead in your profession.
I really ascribe to the concept of servant leadership. I'm here to help you.
Say it again for the people in the back.
2 words, servant leadership. It is a skill that is not well talked about enough. We don't teach people. We can teach people to become servant leaders. However, there is also an aspect of someone's persona, someone's character, someone's value. So for me, I live out my values. If I want to obtain something from you, I first need to approach you in the guise of, I want to know who you are. I want to know, what can I do for you to help you be better in your job, or be able to deliver what you need to render in terms of work. So it's a holistic way of working with people. It's really not self-centered. As you said, it's really, I tend to operate in the shadows. I'm more of behind the scenes, having lots more individual conversations, creating these relations, a basis for a relationship, where you can trust me. You can trust, where I've had many colleagues tell me really personal things and know that I'm a vault, right? But then in turn, I can help to provide guidance and say, well, you know what? I understand what's going on. Help me help you, and we'll kind of get through this together. So I'm really personable, but I'm not an attention seeker. So it would be, I say that, yet I'm this performer.
I was about to ask you about that.
Right. But again, in performing, I'm not looking to be a celebrity. I'm not looking to be known per se. I'm just looking to be able to share what God has given me, the messages that I hope to bring to you, because I hope that it helps you. Again, it's in the spirit of serving you. It's not in the spirit of taking from you. I'm giving to you. And my hope is that you receive it and it makes a difference in your life, some way, shape, or form. So that's really different than, I think, a lot of performers or artists. Like their approach to their career is very different, and to each their own. But for me, it hasn't worked well when I've been selfish. And I've been selfish. I've been the young selfish person. I'm not a young chicken per se. So I've lived life, and I've learned that, you can get a lot further in life when, you use a bit of honey.
Where are you from? Because the things that you're saying, this is like old school teaching, right? These are how most of us, I think, were brought up. And when I hear other types of way people live, I'll be wanting to ask them, like, who raised you? Yeah. But where are you from? And talk to me about your upbringing and how that has affected you and kind of molded who you are.
So I am a Trini. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. So I still have a little bit of the accent.
A lot of it. Go ahead.
So I'm a proud Trinidadian. I immigrated to Montreal, Quebec in Canada with my mom at the age of 6. And my mom was a single parent. She raised 6 incredible children. I'm the youngest. And I grew up in the old world in the sense that, love thy neighbor, help, if you have the last grain of sugar, give it to them. God will like supply your needs, but he also will equip you to go out and get what you need. Like, it's not a wait and see. So, my mom had to just get up and go. She worked the 3 jobs. She made less than minimum wage. She did everything that she could to ensure I would have a chance at success. So I come from a school where you honor your parents. You are thankful for everything that they have done to set you up for success. And where my mom is concerned, especially, she was everything to me. She passed away, unfortunately, from COVID in January in this year. However, she really gave me, she may not have been financially, solid, but in the things that mattered most in terms of values, in terms of how to be with people, how to treat people, how to treat yourself. She taught me a lot about self-assurance and how to be proud of yourself and how to carry yourself as a woman and as a person. So she gave me all the mantle I needed to succeed.
So my mom's been gone for over 20 years, and you recently lost yours. I want to say, I will never say to someone, time makes it easier. Nah, that's not a thing.
No.
So talk to me about how this recent passing has currently affected you. Have you been able to step away from work? Have you been able to step away from your artistry to really deal with not just the madness that's been going on, but then the loss of your mom? Like, walk me through that.
It was traumatic, and I say traumatic because we're still in a period of COVID, right? And my mother was in Montreal. So I had to fly back, go through the COVID testing, technically was under quarantine with the Canadian government, even though I'm a Canadian citizen. And long story short, I was still able to be with her literally when she took her last breath. And as much as I'm heartbroken, as much as I'm devastated, I am so grateful that I had that opportunity. There's still a light that came through this moment that was of comfort, because so many families were not able to grieve or see their loved one, transition from life into another realm of being, whatever you believe that to be. And so I had that privilege and that honor to be by her side and, tell her all what I wanted to tell her, even though she was in a coma at that point. But how did I deal with it? I took 2 weeks off. I did not open my laptop, and I have a job where normally I'm at the hip with my phone, and I just completely disconnected. Whatever happened at work is whatever happened at work. And I felt alone because my family couldn't be there at the cremation because of COVID laws, couldn't travel, couldn't enter the country, things of that nature. So I'm still dealing with it, and one of the solace that I experienced was to turn to music and say, you know what, I have this song and it speaks to our times and it helps me to grieve and to process. And I decided, you know what, my mother wouldn't want me to sit still. That's the last thing she would want me to do, So, grief hits you at the least expected moments, like a couple days ago, I felt like curling into a ball and staying in my bed and just not getting up to face the world. But again, my mother was like, she taught me, she was born into Hindu religion, and she's long gone. She's transformed into another being or state or creature. And, she believes in the living must live. And she would want me to live. She wanted to make sure that I had everything I could possibly need and then some in life so that I could be okay the day she would leave. She prepared me for this transition, yet there's still no preparation. Like she tried to equip me with, I'll be okay. Like, this is my time. I've lived my time on this earth. It's God's telling me that, I need to go,
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I love what she says, what she's taught you. The living must live. Part of living a full life is actually being still and feeling what's going on in your life, being present in the moment. Mm. It seems to me, I come from a large family and we have a lot of death in our family. It just happens so often. My grandfather had 17 brothers and sisters, a bunch of kids and cousins. My grandmother comes from 7 brothers. And her, everybody's really fertile. So there's a lot of cousins and we've had a lot of death. When it initially happens and then maybe a week or 2 or 3 immediately after, there's a show and there's a lot of show of love and support. But after the show is over, it gets a little quiet. And for me, that's usually when it gets really sad.
Yeah.
So what have you been able to do to help cope with the really sad and the really silent moments? And I'm asking because many people that don't know how to really sit in that emotion, they turn to other things to help them deal with those emotions, right? Mm-hmm. We come up with things like depression, anxiety, abuse, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, because we don't want to sit in those emotions. They just hurt too bad.
Mm-hmm.
I've had times when my chest is just, you can barely breathe.
Right.
So what has been your coping mechanism for dealing with those emotions that tend to come fleeting at times? Sometimes I'm sure they stick around for a while, and to continue moving forward in a healthy way.
So I've come up with a couple rituals now. I talk to my mom. For me, it helps, it helps letting her know that I'm sad, that I'm just in tears, and that I talk to her just like how I would talk to God, that it's not fair, that I wish that I had seen her a little bit, before she was in the coma. Like I relive certain things, because for me, if you keep this all bottled in, it creates a heaviness on your chest that endures much longer than it should. Like, it's healthy to let your emotions out. Like, I encourage us to do this. Is there a limit to it? Is no two people will grieve the same. Like, my prescription may not be for you. However, I would encourage you to allow yourself to feel, because I still feel it. Like, I can still get tears in my eyes anytime someone mentions my mom or I mention my mom, because it's raw, and I'm not ashamed of that. The difference is that I take that deep breath, and I always recall her. Like, it's like she lives in my brain now, all these memories and all her sayings, and how if she were here, she would say, she'd give me a hug, which I can't experience anymore, but I would hear her in my ear saying, I love you, you got this. I will always be there for you. You will always know I'm around, So I am reassured that I'm equipped to carry on, even though some days I don't feel it, even though some days the burden feels so heavy that it's just like, why? Because like you, I experienced a lot of death in a short period of time.
Those sentiments that you feel are her legacy. She left that for you. She made sure that she was always planting seeds to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
What is the legacy that you want to leave?
Wow, it's a really good question. It has nothing to do with money, interestingly. So a lot of people talk about, especially our Black community. Of course, we want to create a financial legacy, a wealth legacy. It's extremely important. However, my legacy that I would like to leave is that I helped people to heal, whether it be through my music, whether it be through every opportunity that I get to communicate, with people like you, that someone is able to gain, that someone is able to be enriched by my experiences, wisdom that I've acquired over the years, the music that I have created and that I share. Whatever information, however I can disseminate it, if I can touch somebody and they are better for it, that's a legacy for me.
Okay, I'm going to take you in a different direction. You want to help people heal. I do the work that I do to help people heal, to tell stories, to help people find resolution or solace. There seems to be some people that thrive in drama and trauma and don't want to heal. Talk to me about what you think that is about, because, we're in this place now where getting help there's a plethora of opportunities and options, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not suggesting for people to, just run out to any doctor, but there are multiple things that have been offered and put together to help people heal from drama and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't always want to do that. There are people that thrive off mess.
Yes.
And I know in your business, there's probably been a lot of people that thrive off of the messy mess. So how do you deal with those people that don't want to heal, want to continue to re-traumatize others, seem to thrive off of causing more drama and trauma?
I just don't give them more energy. I'm not going to give my energy to feed them, because now you're robbing me. So if you are making a conscious choice to behave in a certain manner, I cannot, that is your decision. That's your choice. However, it does not have to affect me if I don't allow it to. And I refuse to, because my energy is precious. It's sacred. My mother raised me with this concept of that your energy, your spirit, your soul is sacred. Don't share it with everybody. It's really very, very, very personal, and you need to protect it. So I'm always very, what's the right word? But I'm very wary by nature. You know, as I said, I'm very intuitive. I read people really quickly. And if I feel that you are the type of person who is really about the drama and who's really about the mess and the mess, and I'm just going to leave you where you are. Because
do you get that a lot in your business on the entertainment side?
Yeah, it's competition. It's harsh. It's so harsh. Like, you think you're friends with somebody, and then 2 seconds later you find out that, oh no, you're not friends. Like, it's very competitive. It's because, you know, there's only a certain amount of space, you know, and I don't operate from a spirit of competition. Yeah. So it's harder for people like me to succeed, right? The definitions of success is my definition is not the same as theirs, right? Yeah. And again, because I'm not coming from a self-serving point of view, whereas they may be. So if that's the scene, I quickly exit, like stage left. Like, it's just not for me, you know. I'm really transparent. Like, really, I pray what you see is what you get, and I will be the first person to help you if you are sincere, if you really want that help. But if you're there to use it and abuse it, I just don't have time for that.
Now, let me just say this. You have been blessed with a mother and an upbringing that allowed for you to see that way of life, to see your blessings, to see serenity and being able to be your best self. But there are some people that have not been in that situation, that did not have that mother, that did not have that upbringing. So what is your advice to them that grew up in mess, right, and may not know how to change the dynamic of their life? And that, because that's the only solution they know. All they know is to fight fire. All they know is to continue with the insults and drama, because that's what they've been taught to use, right?
Right.
So how do you suggest to people that have always been surrounded by chaos and drama to find a different way? Because at the end of the day, that is mental wellness. It's when you find that solace and those coping mechanisms that don't perpetuate more negativity.
There are some hard decisions that they need to make. Namely, one, are you willing to change your environment? Are you willing to, and sometimes this has to do with family, even more so than your colleagues and your friends, that you might have to, you know, love them from afar. Because if you find that, you know, you yourself want change, but your environment doesn't support said change, what is the solution? You need to change the environment. You need to change the people who are around you that will pour into you, because what is being poured into you and what you're reflecting back out is a symbiotic relationship. So you need to break that, you know, and in order to break that, sometimes it comes at great cost personally. But if you don't, then you never get that opportunity to ascend as a being, as emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever you want to aspire to. It's at the end of the day, like, you've got to make that choice. Who is for you? You know, even if it's family, sometimes your family's not for you.
Yeah, I know that. Absolutely.
Not easy. None of what we're saying is easy, but sometimes it has to be done.
I love that. And I hope you guys hear that and really take that in, sit in that for a minute. Everybody is not for you. I have a group called Lady Boss. It's for alpha female women that really just want to level up in their jobs and leadership. One of the things that you said is ascend. And thinking about different types of leadership, you got elected leaders, you got appointed leaders, and then you have leaders that ascend. And they have risen to the occasion for these positions or titles or that level of influence. Mm-hmm. How do you advise people to ascend to a greater level of happiness, ascend to higher leadership, ascend to a better place in life? Talk to me about that.
I'll give you a real life example.
Yes.
So when I was working in Canada, I was working as a credit analyst for a big corporation called Oakley, the sunglasses company. And I realized that, okay, if I wanted to get out of under earning, I was like a chronic under earner. And I really wanted to hit that 6-figure, ceiling and break through it. But I knew that in the role that I had at the company, I wasn't going to get it done. So I also knew that I needed to stretch myself. I needed to go after an opportunity that was beyond my current capabilities, but that if I was willing to put in the work, if I was willing to take whatever courses I needed to take, that I could push my way through. And sure enough, there was an opportunity to be an EDI administrator, electronic document interchange, and that's in IT world. And nobody at the company was really keen on it. And I talked to my boss and I said, send me to boot camp. Do whatever you can do for me, vouch for me that I will be able to take this new position and run with it. And the reason why she said yes was because of my work ethic, was because even as a credit analyst, I was delivering results already within that role. So she just saw that, okay, I was serious. I was already a value, an asset to the company in this particular role. Let's just trust her with it. And sure enough, they shipped me off to Solon, Ohio, in the middle of winter, learn how to map. Never did any of that. I'm not in computer science. I didn't even graduate with my BA in psychology, but I just knew that if I committed to learning what I needed to learn and just kept at it, I would win. And sure enough, yes, I ended up being a consultant. I ended up working for them, even though I had moved to the US for 3 years as I was doing my residency and stuff. Then leapfrog that into software engineering and then healthcare. And none of that would have happened if I didn't have the forethought to say, I cannot limit myself, and I had an ally. Really, really important. I couldn't have done it alone. I needed somebody else to buy into me as a product, as a person. And then I had to cover them. I had to make sure that their choice in me was not wrong. So there was pressure, but that's the recipe for me, is that you have to convince yourself that X is what you want. You have to commit yourself to doing whatever it takes to get to that X. You need to have mentors, allies, whoever that may be, that can champion your cause, and then you need to deliver.
I love that. Well, you need to know you have an ally here at Sand and Shores, and we support you. We wish you nothing but the best. What is next for you?
I am releasing a new single. It's called Be Still. I'm very, very proud of this song. It really speaks about our times. It speaks about racial tension and injustice. It talks about, emotional, wellness. It talks about, losing people. It's just the world seems in complete chaos. But what are the answers, And I provide an answer through the song. And so it's called Be Still, and it's being released on all major platforms June 15th. So yes, be still.
We'll be sharing it on the Sand and Shores site and all of our socials. So please make sure that you check her out, check out her music, support, and let the people know how they can stay in touch with you, follow up on what you are doing, and be your next biggest fan behind me.
Appreciate it. So first and foremost, always visit my website. That is my piece of real estate, www.kassandradasent.com. From there, it will point you directly to Instagram, to Twitter, to Facebook. My handles are at kassandradasent.com.
I love that. Any last sentiments for those out there that are listening and might be looking to level up on their leadership and their opportunity to make a difference in the world? Give them the good stuff.
I encourage you to read. It's not enough to want, to wish, to hope. You need to arm yourself with information. You need to equip yourself with the tools that will set you up for success. So, whether it is that, you want to become, a SaaS programmer, well, then you've got to maybe sign up for a boot camp, or you've got to just take a book from the library if you can't even afford to buy one. Let's start small. just eat those goals one bite at a time, but you've got to take action. You've got to take action.
I love that. Well, thank you guys for tuning in again. Make sure you follow us on Sand and Shores, all social media platforms. And if you have any questions for Miss Kassandra, we will be posting all of her upcoming opportunities for you to, I don't know, be her biggest fan, bigger than me. So, but the healing portion of it is huge. And I think it's a time for us to really step back and recognize when we need some time, right? Recognize when it hurts and not mask it with other things, to recognize when we need some help or reach out. And as Miss Kassandra said, sometimes we got to read. We got to find those answers that get us to the next level. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. See you next week.